How do you explain a man who survived the closest thing humanity has ever created to the end of the world? Not once, but twice? A man who walked through a burning city, escaped it, and then 3 days later watched his hometown explode into the same impossible white light. This isn't luck. It's not fate. It's a true story so unreal, historians still struggle to describe it. In August 1945, a 29-year-old engineer named Tsutomu Yamaguchi went to work like any other man with a job and a family. He took orders from his employer, boarded trains, rode into Hiroshima for a business meeting, and stepped into a morning that was ordinary until it exploded. At 8:15 a.m. on August 6th, a plane overhead released a weapon the world had never seen. A blinding white light filled the sky. The building he worked in shook and then collapsed. He was thrown to the ground, dazed and bleeding, his left side badly burned. The city around him became a landscape of broken glass, smoke, and stunned people. The details that survive in memory are small and sharp: the taste of ash, a hand burned but still able to grip, a voice that refused to stop. He spent that night in Hiroshima, among other frightened survivors, and then he set out to go home. This was not the end of the horror, only the beginning. What he did next reads like a decision written under pressure and fear. Instead of staying in the ruined city or surrendering to the chaos, he did something many might call impossible. He kept going. He bandaged his burns as best he could and returned to his hometown, Nagasaki, some 190 miles away. He feared for his family. He feared the worst. He feared he might find nothing of his life left to return to. The trains were full. The roads were clogged with refugees. Still he pushed through, a quiet and determined figure moving across a country, still reeling from a single, unimaginable grief. No one expected a second light. No one could have expected it. Wikipedia. Then 3 days later, the world flashed white again. On August 9th, another B-29 dropped a second atomic device over Nagasaki. The second light hit a different city, on a different map. But for him, the sensation was eerily familiar. He experienced another blast wave, another shower of debris, another wave of radiation. He was exposed twice in less than a week, burned once, then exposed again. He survived. The raw physical injuries weren't the only consequence. What followed were invisible markers: radiation in his body, a life rearranged, questions that would never properly go away. Survival didn't erase loss. Families were gone. Entire neighborhoods had vanished. In a single week, he had witnessed 2 cities transformed into ruin. The people left were left to live with the shape of that ruin. For many survivors, life after the bomb meant chronic illness, stigma, and a society that sometimes preferred silence over confrontation with what had happened. But he became more than a private survivor. Over the years, he spoke about what he had seen. His voice was steady, not theatrical. He described the white light and the strange, almost mechanical calm that followed. He shared small details: his burns, the way he could still taste the dust, the way people moved like shadows, looking for someone they'd lost. He became a witness on a scale few ever are asked to be. The Guardian +1. There's a technicality that sounds bureaucratic, but matters when historians and governments count suffering. In 2009, the Japanese government officially recognized him as a Niju Hibakusha, a person affected by both atomic bombings. It is a title steeped in pain and meaning. It recognizes not just the physical exposure, but the rarity of his particular path through those days of August. Documentary filmmakers had earlier found dozens, scores even, of people who experienced both blasts, but the official recognition of one man's status carried symbolic weight. It made his story an official chapter in the country's record of what happened. He accepted the recognition not as a medal, but as a duty, to tell younger generations the nature of a violence that should never become ordinary. There are smaller, quieter echoes in his story, too. He returned to the city of Nagasaki. He rebuilt a routine. He kept family rituals alive the way people do after catastrophe. He lived long enough to see the world change around him. Nations reinvented their narratives. New weapons emerged decades later, and yet the basic truth of his testimony remained unchanged. He refused sensationalism. He insisted on telling what he had seen as plainly as possible. My double radiation exposure is now an official government record, he once said. It can tell the younger generation the horrifying history of the atomic bombings even after I die. That sentence is not self-pity. It is a deliberate handing off of memory. You might wonder, were there really only a handful of people exposed to both bombs? The answer is complicated. Filmmakers tracked down people who were in both cities. Some estimates collected by documentarians found dozens, and one project reported about 165 such cases. Still,